Hello, everybody, and welcome to Unfiltered with Sass. Today, as promised on episode 1, I have got a awesome person here with me for an interview, and I'm going to introduce you to him. This is Michael Chorney from At the Scene Photography, and
Hello.
Michael Chorney is the founder and full operator of At the Scene Photography Facebook platform of over 152,000 followers. I want to welcome you here today with me, Michael. Thank you so much for joining.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Of course. I'm excited to ask all the questions that everybody wants all the answers for. Some of them might be a little heated, so I hope that's okay, Mike.
I got the air conditioning cranked today, so we're
You're
good.
perfect. So you're ready. So
Yep.
the first thing I want to ask you about, Michael, is why At the Scene Photography? I want you to tell me that moment you woke up that day and said, I want to go take pictures and I want to get them on Facebook. Can you take me that far back and explain that to us?
Yeah, it had been brewing prior to the launch of the site. It was just as a delivery driver, I was driving anywhere to the Uxbridge. I was going up to Berks Falls, Collingwood, basically all around delivering auto body supplies. And you'd get on a road, and next thing you know, you're stuck in traffic. And it was like, why am I stuck in traffic? And you're in the middle of the 4-hour continuous work music week, so there's no access to that. You can't really go on your phone and look at any apps or anything. There's no alerts that can alert anyone to this. And it was just a little bit of frustration. It was, hey, can I help? Barry 411 was one of the early ones. CTV I've helped out, Barry 360, Barry Today, just by it was passing on the message. It was that, back originally that's what started the wanting to help. COVID also hit. And the main story that I do say, and this is what kind of honed the direction, was the kids had nothing to do. We decided that we as a government and health organizations had decided that malls were no longer appropriate for people to be in. Parks were being cordoned off because of a threat of a disease. Running in a field, you had to stay 6 feet away from someone, and if the wind changed, people ran like it was mustard gas. So we started shooting fire trucks, and I spoke with Jackie about this, and we talk about the term COVID babies because we have 2 COVID babies, and Willow was lucky enough to be in COVID, but not. But we were one day out for a walk in one of the Simcoe County forests, and I remember she went up ahead of us, and she saw another group of people, and she said, "Humans!" and ran away. And to me, that was kind of like, okay, we need to find something for them to do to somewhat learn and be social and not just TikToks, and which ultimately, as we all know in society, that's where it's become, just kind of glued to the phone. And so we started literally following fire trucks. There used to be an app that the city of Barrie encouraged to use where it was like, here's all the calls we're on, here's all the trucks that were. So we wanted to collect all photos of just the trucks. So we would go to different calls, medicals and all that. We wouldn't post what they were. It was just, it started out as Pump 1, Ladder 2, Tower 1, Rescue 5. And so we would be collecting all these, and it's, oh my God, they put the Reserve 7 out. Let's go. And, that was something to get the kids kind of out of that, just you're stuck at home,
Right.
like let's be
Right.
stuck in a car. Let's go do something. And then from there, as I'm driving, it was like, oh, I want to help people out. So I would, again, offer my photos to organizations that were running like the Barrie 411s, Muskoka 411s, and it was like, okay, here's a car wreck, here's a car wreck. Okay, now, if you show a picture of a car wreck, I believe that someone will then avoid the area. Because
Right. No, absolutely.
you can say that there's a car accident down the road and people drive through it. If you show that the whole intersection's mangled, people tend to avoid that area for a bit.
Absolutely. Now let me just ask you this while we're on this topic, Mike. So, in the beginning, when you were taking your photos and you started to get involved more with fire and getting, and the
Mhm.
traffic reports and stuff, when you offered your pictures to these organizations, was there pushback, or were they like, "Oh, thanks so much for contributing this to make our jobs easier"?
I was, thank you very much. Here's some credit. Thank you very much. There was a stabbing on Bayfield Street that I caught back in one winter, and my name was on there, and then that was cool,
Yeah,
and that became cool, but it wasn't like it's neat to get it once in a while. But then I realized it was like, oh, well, it became almost second nature because oh, this place took, this place took, this place took, and then one day I sent in something and no one posted it, and you know to quote that Michael Jordan line, I took that personally.
yeah.
There was a significant incident. I sent it in and no one cared, and I was
Right,
like,
right.
all right, so
And is
I'm at
that when?
that's kind of how At the Scene starts, and here's the funny. So as you see the size of me, so this is the setup to the joke. So we're I was gonna launch, and I was like, all decisions. I like to say that from the kids to everything leading up. There's a term. It was like, okay, so what are we gonna call this? And I'm like, well, I'm very heavy set. I'm a dad. Why don't we call it Big Daddy? And one of my buddies just kind of started laughing at me. And he said, there's two problems with that. One,
Yep.
you're in the wrong genre. And two, you ain't no Big Daddy. Laughs all around. And I said, do you got anything better? And he went, I don't know. You're always at the scene of things.
Oh,
I went, well, what'd you just say? Back that up.
yeah.
And that's kind of how the name came about. I didn't want to put anything with Simcoe County or Barrie in it because I didn't want to limit myself to the potential at the
Yep. Makes
time.
sense.
Right? Because being at the scene, what does at the scene mean? That's a very open ended statement. So that means I'm at the scene of a car crash, at the scene of an opening, at the scene of an award ceremony, hockey game. There are rumblings behind me. I have two children in the
Ooh,
house.
those penguins.
Yes, yes. So that's just how it started. And then it was, I wanted a logo. And this is kind of how it's slowly progressing. And it was like, I remember Ken Dryden, the hockey goalie. I got a chance to do a Q&A at the Hockey Hall of Fame for the 72 series, and just listening to him, and he was very articulate and very well spoken. But he said that when he talking about his mask, he wanted his mask recognizable from not only the ice level, but the person who paid the most inexpensive ticket up at the top of the rafters.
Right.
So that's why he has a very simple, what they call the bullet style. And that's what I wanted. So I went looking for a logo, that one
Yep.
right there, and I found it. I paid the rights so I can market it. I
Nice.
thank Jackie for that. And it's very simple, but it is very noticeable, you
Yep.
know,
And everybody recognizes
and
it.
it is what we do. We shoot photos or we shoot film, and that is a camera lens. And that is Todd, my beagle, as everyone
Yes.
knows, night shift Todd. So that's how that progressed. And then I did a soft launch at my work. I remember the first accident was Bayview at the back entrance to Costco, the 2 car. And I remember going into work and being like, hey, would you like to be the first one to post on my page? And I had them hit the enter, and that started. And from there, it was just meeting people at interesting opportunities, and being genuine. So I
Yep.
met James Ireland of Rescue 51. He came into work and I'm like, oh my God, I know you. You're a TV star. And, the starstruck stuff. And now I can have a conversation with them on the phone. It is a weird shift.
Yeah. I can imagine. I can imagine. Do you think that the weight of COVID was what pushed you to do this? Do you think it started because you were like, I got to get my kids out of the house. I got to do something entertaining. I have to,
It was, it
give us
was,
all some hope,
it was part
you
of
know?
that, like, and I'm not going to, as much as the police said not to do it, the tornado was the biggest attraction
Mhm.
during COVID. How many
Yeah, I
people drove
remember
through
that.
those neighborhoods?
Hmm.
I remember that was one, my father, when he was alive at the time, a little bit of social isolation, But we dragged him out and was like, hey, let's go check out where a tornado went. And, him in his 70s, he was just, he used to be a supervisor at a construction site. So, I heard a lot of that Mike Holmes minimum code requirements. Oh, if they would have put 3 more nails in, it would have stayed. And
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it was
That was
just,
an unfortunate.
it was. We weren't running at the time. But, that was kind of I was watching how things were documented. Like we were running on fumes when it came to print media. I believe Simcoe.com, which was I don't even remember what they were anymore, but they were a weekly paper at that time. Barry Today had gone all digital, and then I put my mind to it, and I was like, well, I'm going to find out where these things are, and I'm going to let people know. And so I started doing that, and it was a friend following, starts with, you send everyone on your friends list, 30
Yep.
people view, and from those 30 people, you get about 300 views. And, I knew nothing about metrics and all that. I was like, oh my God,
Right.
people are looking at this. I was doing it more for myself, just kind of a documented record, and, like, let's see what's going on. And I remember
Almost like
starting,
a hobby.
yeah, like
Almost.
there was
Almost.
no, I
Because
wasn't
you
getting.
had a full-time job, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was no monetization. There was no advertising. There was no subcontracts with media outlets at that time. All there was, if you remember, for like the first 2 years, I started everything with at the scene of, right? And it became this kind of, I didn't realize what I was doing at the time, but everyone's telling me that the psychology behind it was just immense, because everyone
Mhm.
just under like I was just pounding my name into the minds of everyone. And it wasn't until I went to a fire scene and there was a house fire and Barry Fire's doing their thing, and I show up and the crowd starts yelling, "Same's here!" And the firefighters spun and I'm like, okay, this is something now, because I've become the distraction, right? And it wasn't that I wanted to be, and I'd never seen that with any other news outlet, like, or any organization. May it be, you don't hear in the States, Fox is here, CNN is here, or locally, you don't hear CTV. You hear a lot of the negativity that comes from, not at the local level, not at the ground level, but it tends to be higher up, from decisions that are made, corporate synergy,
Yep.
and, we are going to do this, we are going to do that. And, like, everyone went hot to trot on Lisa LaFlemme, but talk to 3 people that are in the industry and you hear a completely different story, but that's not what gets aired, right? And
Exactly.
I will get into my kind of tete-a-tete with some of the medias, and how laws that have been passed and decisions that were made, both on my side and on the other side, and how public reaction tends to move people's decisions. Like, a lot of things don't happen unless the public is outraged, I find.
Exactly. Yep.
Right? Things
Yep. I
don't
agree.
change. Things don't change unless everyone's, lighting the torches again, as they say. But you can try to be positive about it. And for instance, I can put up 6 happy posts and get no traction, and I can put a person in a medical induced pretzel, I guess is what I'll call it. And that pretzel will make me more likes, more shares, more comments, more money than the 5 positive stories that I did. Or
And
when I do put
that's the sad. That's a very sad reality. But
it is.
it's
It,
true. People like negative stuff.
yeah, but did you, like, for instance, and I will tell you on this podcast, because I just finalized this last night. I'm the
Okay.
official media sponsor of the Filipino Festival that's happening the 18th and 19th of September.
Very exciting. I'm
Yeah.
so happy that they're coming and doing that.
And that is the first major festival outside of the 905. And there is a very strong Filipino culture. And
Yeah.
with that, you are going to get the haters, like, oh, well, it's Filipino, or oh, it's this. Willow Friday night was downtown, 5 points, with a camera shooting Brigitte Eve. I was kind of filming a couple of her songs, and people are like, oh, it's cringeworthy. her singing. I'm like, okay, well, she's out there busting her ass. What are you doing? So then someone sends me Ice Cube from Casino Rama. I'm like, okay, well, oh, he's washed up. It's like, what do you guys want?
Exactly.
Right? Like I
Exactly.
can give you everything you want, and you're still not happy.
Yeah.
And that I learned a
That's just
long
the
time
world, though.
ago. That is not on me. That is a you
Nope.
problem, right? Like if you're not happy with what's going on in your life, do things to fix it. I'm pointing out that there are bars downtown that play live music. There are bars downtown safe enough that before the 9 p.m. cutoff, before minors have to get out, an 8-year-old can go down there with no, and she can walk around, and she had free reign. I was there watching, but she had free reign. There was no concern, right? So, downtown does get a bad rap. The more you try to say how good it is, the more people are going to show how bad it is. And I think that currently, right now, that is the situation. Yes, there's a certain portion of downtown that is great, and there's still another, I'd say, 2 to 3 hot spots that still need to be worked on. But
yes. And my input on that too, as a downtown resident, is that when you flood downtown with residents, with the music that comes out of the bars, with the festivals, Kempen Fest, we'll use the fireworks, and that happened a couple weeks ago. It was mind blowing, because when you bring all those people downtown, you light it up, and everybody's living. The small percent of the bad that's there seem to like crawl away, and I'll put it like that because with numbers, we overpower the bad. So I really, really want to point out here that all the support that you bring the downtown businesses and the downtown bars, especially with the music, have a huge impact on the change that's happening downtown. And I've seen it just in the last few weeks. And this is just my personal opinion as a downtown resident. I have seen the change. So I know that the events going on at Meridian, the bars, the live music that you're covering, the festivals the city's putting on, the air show, the fireworks, etc., has made a huge impact.
Oh,
and you're always going to have the people that are like, oh, this is happening. Oh, this is bad. This is bad. But it's funny because the people that are saying that, we don't see them. They're in the shadows. They're not doing anything to make a change. They're not doing anything to help the situation. Most of them are, let's be real, probably in their basements. Keyboard warriors, I call them. And they just want bad shit all the time.
Well, downtowns are always going to bring attention, good or bad.
Yes.
In the 70s, it was the biker, and the owner of the Queens was stabbed in the bar.
I
Murdered.
remember that.
And then the wife sold it to Mr. Hamilton, who became the mayor and all that. And then, the focus changed from, Barrie Police coming downtown to clean up the bikers to back when I was getting familiar about 20 years ago, the bars were all hopping. You had, it was a bar downtown, and it was a college town and everything was hopping. You still had the incidents that going on, but we didn't have social media.
Exactly.
But instead of the addicts and addiction issues, you had the drunk and unruly, and Barrie Police would come down and clean that up. And now we've come and we've evolved, and the bars are struggling because, a new problem has arose, and which is the addiction problem. And I call it an addiction problem, not a homeless problem. Addiction, first of all, is mental health. So that falls under the criteria. And addiction can be a simple thing as not taking your pills.
Mm-hmm.
And because if you're prescribed medication and, there's a lot of stuff I'll say, and, here's a hot take. I just saw that Willow, she goes to sick kids a lot, and she has a cleft lip and, may need some additional surgery. But at 12 years old, she can deny me her health records now.
Yeah.
And she can make the decision, and it's like, okay, but she can't vote, she can't drink, she can't smoke, but we're going to allow her all this information. But on the same token, you can have a person that, and I will utilize, some people in my circle, they have to get reminders every morning to take their daily medication. But the moment they turn 18, apparently, or they are 18, it's their choice. It's like, but
Right.
we've established a pattern to say that this isn't happening. So as a, you know, as a parent, if this is happening, what you want to do is you want to set up your child so that they don't fall into the cracks and into the system. The biggest problem with the system is you need a guide. You need Yoda.
Paper you signed. Fighting you must. Go to
Yeah.
there. Use the force.
And I make a joke about it, but when you need to navigate through education systems, when you need to navigate through, even like if you're homeless and it's not on your own doing, there's a navigation because you gotta go here, gotta go here, gotta go here, gotta go here, gotta go here. And now we pay someone to navigate the system. Well, when I hear a lot of these organizations advocate for homeless and for addicts and for the addiction and all this other stuff that we have, oh, well, this $3 million could go right to these people. But how much of that $3 million actually gets to them when you have administration costs? You've got the navigator, you've got the gatekeeper, you've got the checkbox checker. There are organizations in this county right now that basically drop stuff off at your door because it's a check mark.
Yep.
There are organizations in this world that scroll your social media that if you alter their image anyway with AI, they send a letter to you. And that just checks the box.
Yep.
And this is it's not even micromanage. It's we overmanage, right? We overmanage, and then anytime a decision has to be made, you look at the Aurelia one with the Champlain statue, right? Okay, we're gonna put it back up. Strong mayor powers, and everyone's like, oh, but now it's got to go to a committee, and now this subcommittee, and now this. How much money is that? This is a statue. This is our history.
Exactly.
You could put a little sign up next to it going, oh, hey, he's a bad dude. Because I'm sure if we look into everyone's background, we've all had that moment where we were not the best person that we portray ourselves to be.
Exactly. Not our best version.
Exactly. And unfortunately, in the line that I cover, we have like police officers where, if that moment slipped, their HR complaints become everyone's complaint. Right? And is that technically fair? There was just a court case where a guy online got 32 months sentenced, so he's got 16 left because he was verbally attacking online 2 officers and their spouses. And then he just tried to go, well, it's not my fault, it's not my fault, it's not my fault. It's my mental health. There comes a time where we all have to accept responsibility for our actions, acknowledge it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Be accountable.
And here's how I'm going to be accountable. If my pictures trigger you, then I've done something right. But that doesn't give you the right to tell me to take it down.
Exactly. And if your pictures or your posts or your articles or interviews that are being done are bringing awareness to people, and to some people it's setting them off, or like you said, it's triggering them, then that means you've done your job.
Yep. And
because you're getting it in front of everybody and you're bringing awareness to it.
And people, the hardest problem that I've learned in a city like Barrie is it wants to be that cottage country town where, but it's not. Let's face it, it's becoming a big mid-sized city. But the moment you start reporting like it's Toronto, it's, oh, how dare you? I grew up in Toronto. I watched a guy jump off a 7-story balcony. There was a baby found in a dumpster 2 blocks from me. I watched a girl run over by a dump truck with a bicycle. Okay, you speak trauma. That I saw all that before I was 12. I've had SWAT grab me by the back of my head and drag me down a hall because we went to do laundry and a guy had a loaded 45 and 2 shopping bags full of cocaine, and he just happened to be snorting them and then crashed in the bathroom. So that was kind of, there's a little side bringing into my uptick. This isn't the time when it was like, dare, don't do drugs. It's like, no, you don't. I didn't have to. I just watched the guy go, he believed he could fly. He bounced.
Exactly.
And then I watched him for the rest of his life in a wheelchair.
Yep. And I think anyone that lives in Barrie or is from Barrie that hasn't seen that busy city, because as you know, I'm also from Toronto. I only came to Barrie in my mid-30s. So, and I was also like downtown core, right? Lakeshore, Leslie. I had friends in Regent Park. I had friends at Jane and Finch. Like I've seen, just like yourself, a lot of bad shit in my life.
Yeah.
So to people in Barrie, it's like, oh my God, why are you posting that? What is that? Like we can't handle that. And they don't understand that there are people that can handle it though. And there
And,
are people that understand that the bigger the city grows, the more problems the city's going to have.
and a lot of it too is, you know, I was lucky. I positioned myself on social media as a photographer. I'm still a photographer. I just happen to shoot everything that's current. Every
Yes.
press release
Yes.
has one of my photos in it, unless it was presented by the people, and then that way it's just you're just getting the message out.
Yep. And while we're talking about that, Michael, with your post and the pictures you get now, as most people realize, you are only one person. And we know, especially your team members, that you cannot be at every single place all
I
the
have,
time at
I have
that.
a cloning machine in the basement. It's okay.
Yes, a cloning machine. But can you tell the viewers a little bit about like the participation that comes from other people? Like how, like, I don't want you to tell us all your deep secrets, but how you get this information, how you can cover more than one area at a time. Like give the viewers a little bit of what that looks like, how you're retaining that and getting that information.
4 years of trust. 4 years of not waiting until a full story develops, just telling it like it is. You know, we have made mistakes along the way. People like to vilify us every time we do. People like to make mistakes, on our spelling mistakes or maybe we got the information wrong. One thing I was told, I was working it and I will own it. The gentleman who burned down downtown Aurelia, I originally thought he was a Mississauga fireman. I had a photo and I had someone verify to me that I trusted as a good source that he was. So I ran it. No, he worked for the city and was given that jacket.
Yeah.
So, that
But
was.
that's not bad considering how many stories you cover in a day that, you
But,
have the odd one that.
but when you break stories in the moment, so I won't use the N word. A lot of the problem is that we can be on something and then the story changes, right? Like yesterday, there was a call in Innisfil for a person with a weapon, active shooter shooting. And I got that details and I'm like, well, I guess I'm going for a drive. I know where the perimeter is and I know I've got a 600 mil lens, so I don't have to get as close as I need to. But it turned out to be, by all accounts, a mental health call. But here's the thing. If it was an active shooter, is it my responsibility to put it out before the police? Is it the police's responsibility to get it out as soon as possible? Is it the police's responsibility to appease the public? Because what I've learned is I can get information and post it in 5 seconds. When the news gets that same information in that 5 seconds, they have to go back and then they have to call the police and then the police have to verify that. And then by the time that comes out, then it's a nice polished story and that can take 2 to 3 hours.
Yep.
If there's someone shooting at my house, I'd like to know that someone's shooting at my house. If there's a risk of someone shooting at my house, I want to know that. When any release gets put out, it always has to go through a chain of command. And that could be a CEO of McDonald's to police to the hospital. Everything is always carefully looked at for, are we going to get in trouble? Are we going to get sued? Are we going,
Yep. But it's a lot to manage.
Right. Now, I knew it was an active shooter at the time. That was my tip to the call, right? But I posted it as a high priority call. Stay away from the area. Because here's the thing. I don't want to cause that panic, right? There were a couple of people on Alcona chats that were like, shooter, run, cover, right?
I saw that.
But it's the wording, right? I can still report in the moment that it's a high priority thing. And then when the police come out with the updated version, well, now I can update the story or I can make another post, right? Which I updated the story in that situation. And then later on, I had a person in that community send me a photo of, it looks like 15 police officers. Those were the patrol people. Those weren't even the tactical. I caught tactical on the main road. Now, right. Imagine being told to stay in your house and seeing that go down the road and then just getting a little blurb saying, oh, nothing to be worried about here. I'd be worried.
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
Anybody would, if I see a bunch of cars driving by my house and task force and all of the police, oh, for sure. I'm like, well, the first thing I'm doing is jumping on the page.
And I try to give something. People talk about privacy and all that, and it's like I balance that so much. I'll choose my words wisely because there was an incident that something unfortunate happened. On top of it, if the other news agencies wait until the official response, that takes about an hour to 2 hours for something to come out. But if I jump on it, I get vilified. But if you go on as Purple Coconut 123 on a message board on a social media platform, well, now you can start all rumors. And there was an incident where a couple was found deceased, and I saw on not even a local page, it was this national page, incidents in Canada. They accused the son, and they got the son's age incorrect. And then that's where it's like, this is the problem, right? When I'm on scene, I understand there's an investigation and all that. And I'm like, well, I know there's supposed to be 4. I only saw 1, and you've got a lot of police tape up. What does that mean? Well, we can't tell you. Okay, so let me take a deep breath and let me use my eyeballs and see. So if you or I were deciding that we were going out on our own term, we don't get the luxury of all that police. We get a marked unit outside our door, no lights on. Sometimes the officer's in the car, as in the case of my father, when he passed away suddenly. He was just in the car waiting for the removal service to come. Or, they are inside the room to make sure if there are other people in the house, they make sure that nothing gets touched and the person, sometimes they go to the coroner, sometimes they go to a funeral home. It all depends. And, when you see 3 cars, that normally means that they're driving single unit. That is your guy, your partner, and most likely a supervisor. That one doesn't bother me either. The ones that bother me are the ones that have a lot of police tape on it because you're holding something for some reason. Maybe you're waiting for a warrant. Maybe something nefarious happened inside. And when you ask about how I get some of this stuff, people will say to me, "Oh, there's 2 police cars on, Main Street." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Is there any police tape up?" "No." "Oh, okay. That's fine." But if it was something major, they'd be like, "There's like 6 police cars here. There's, oh, there's the detective. Oh, they brought the minivan. Every town's got a minivan or a giant truck, right? OPPs are very loud, berries are very subtle, but they're there, right? And it just takes someone to go, "Hey, what's going on?" So I'll go down, get photos, right? Because people want to know. And the people that are affected by it, they tend to get more, I don't know if it's embarrassment, guilt, like if I went out on a killing spree, and I'm not saying I'm going to, and I went and shot up like 6, 7 people, and I shot up my house, and Jackie was the only one left alive, we'll say.
Yeah.
The news would be all over that. But is she allowed to go and tell everyone, no, you can't post this? Because this is this is personally, this is more personal to me, right? Certain times victims' families don't get mentioned, and some people just get misinformation through social media. Like there was an incident of a sudden death that my sourcing tells me one thing, but the post is alleging something totally different. Now, I reported this like 4 days ago. Mainstream media got a hold of it yesterday.
Right. Do you seem to get your information, I mean, the accurate information? I know a lot of the stuff is on the run, as you mentioned, and you do a lot to keep everybody in the moment informed. People are noticing, not like everybody is noticing that you're getting this information before mainstream media.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where, when you said it's trust of 4 years, this is where the loyalty comes in. This is where people that have your back come in. I'm assuming, I don't know if you want to call them informants, but that's basically what they are. There's people out there that are watching for you and sharing with you.
They are the true concerned citizens that want to help, right? I joke that I'm the Green Bay Packers of the media world because I'm inclusive to everyone. People complain that I'm driving all the time taking these photos. Well, a lot of times I try to crop and edit the photo so it doesn't look like that person is driving, because then you get into the sub conversation about, "Oh, you're encouraging this." I'm not encouraging anything. That was that person's choice. They chose to pull their cell phone out, and if they get the ticket, they're not sending me the bill. Right?
Exactly. So with the news that you're bringing out and the information, the coverage of the sports events, the music festivals, the live bands, the restaurants, when did it all become the business? Like I remember our conversation that we had at Tim Hortons, and I remember how excited you were and how you were like, I have to make this a business. It's time. It needs to be my full-time income. I need to do that. I'm going to say, I think top of my head, that was 2 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, it was.
So 2 years ago, make money from it. Like, how am I going to support my family? When did that moment?
I think a lot of it was in the catch me if you can. I will use that analogy. Okay. So my first paid assignment was the unfortunate assassination of the 2 South Simcoe police officers. I remember the editor telling me, well, we'll pay you for your photos. You're the only one that, that was breaking at the time. And for me, still, I'd say I was still green. I'm still green today. I talk to people and I'm like, I'm literally standing here, or you're having conversations with politicians and sports celebrities, and they're like, oh, yeah, we follow you. And I'm like, this is just weird. This is just weird now. I tagged Biff naked in a photo 2 days ago from her free concert on Sunday, and she collaborated with me and also put a comment out, and I was like, that's pretty cool.
That's cool.
That
is very cool.
Right. There was moments I was working with CTV and Barry Today, and at the time I was trying to help, but then the bill came out and I was the only one left standing on Facebook, and I was like, ooh, this is interesting. How are people going to get their news? We are sheep. We were already trained to go to Facebook. So I kind of have to keep this going. With great powers comes great responsibility. And it wasn't until I've had a few interesting moments. A lot of them center around New Canadians, who are one of my biggest supporters and have actually taught me not to worry about people because they're just jealous that they haven't put in the hard work. And I go into restaurants now when I talk to these owners, and I can relate to them about my baby. It's like, when I send someone to a scene, my expectation levels are so high. And if they come up to 10%, yeah, but they're not you.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you mean? What do you mean? Like, my brain's like, but it's simple. You just come here, you do this, you do this, you do this, right? Like you don't post medical calls. Who doesn't post medical calls? Don't post medical calls. You don't use AI. Why are you using AI? It was just because we had already sampled with AI and people went sideways on it.
You knew what was working. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And
it's your company. You need it to be consistent, and continuity is very important.
But this is where the catch me if you can comes in, right? So I'm always trying things. I tried the hokey and fat burger lives in everyone's head. You know that. I know that. But you know how I changed. That's a character. That's a character I play when I go in.
That 80% of the stuff that you do, you have 20% of you that, with the morals, the integrity, the accountability, you have to watch for this, watch for that. But what people don't realize is 80% of you are a character. You have built up the platform with yourself. You might say, well, I would have done it this way or that way. And that's when Jackie pipe in and say, but they're not you.
Yeah.
Right? Because you are you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I remember when the double homicide happened and the mayor had a press conference there, and I took Montana, right? She was 16 at the time, and he was just going to give a statement, and Jackie was filming it, and I was kind of doing a little bit behind the scenes stuff. And I just told Montana, I want you to shoot this. She goes, what am I shooting? I said, I'm not telling you. And that's when I learned that she shot some beautiful photos. And then when she was done, well, why was I shooting this? Oh, 2 people were killed. She's like, what the? I'm like, oh yeah, but I'm not going to tell you that. That's not the assignment. The assignment is you become you. And it also helps me. Like yesterday, I took Willow out and we were taking pictures of flowers and bees.
I saw that.
Right. And people don't realize they're always mad that I show all this bad stuff. I don't know how many people next to first responders who have the same dark humor as me really appreciate the toll it takes to hang out in front of a building where 2 people are dead inside, to look at a motorcycle and know that the person went flying over the handlebars and suffered, and I get the details of, oh yeah, it was this, and this happened to him.
What we see from you is a lot different than what other people see. Other people see the article, the pictures, right? They don't see the behind. I can never really fully explain to people when they ask me about the page or when they're ready to advertise with us or they want events covered. And they're like, well, he said this, he said that, he's done this, he's done that. And I have to hold myself back because I'm like, do you understand fully what this man sees on a daily basis? The things he sees, the things he hears that he doesn't share online, but he has to take those images and those conversations in his mind home with him to his family and still carry on, like an average dad, husband, whichever.
I will say a blessing in disguise happened. My phone had a major hardware malfunction and I had to factory reset it. So a lot of that imagery went to the ether. Like it was meant to be. I was like,
Good. And I'm glad because you know what? I believe in the universe throwing stuff at us. And if that was removed from your phone, it was meant to be removed, because that is the hard part of this job. Everyone just goes, oh, he's making money off eating hot dogs. Okay. You know what? First of all, he's not making money off eating hot dogs. He's making money because he works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Oh, I do.
Right? And you're taking in this information and people don't realize the impact it can have on a person and their family. Just from conversations we've had where you've filled me in on some of the blanks that we don't see online. And I can't even finish the conversation with you because I'm like, how do you deal with that? How do you look at that? How do you hear that? And I
Well-
really want you to explain to me and to everybody, how do you deal with